Let's go a little deeper. In this episode, we're going to create a one-page template for the story of your brand, developing a narrative as to why a consumer, customer, or follower chooses your brand over the competition. This is creating an association and connection with something innate in your desired audience. And that connection is critical to creating intrigue and building trust, ultimately leading to an insatiable desire to acquire the brand you're working on. This phase of building and designing brand identity may be very ceremony specific. I approach most things in my life from a narrative point of view, as I've been making films since childhood. Because of this, we treat the narrative development phase with great care, a critical piece for not only creating the brand, but for the brand to have longevity. I have a starter template in the description, and at the end of this episode, you'll be able to fill it out for your brand or the brands your agency works with. Use it in perpetuity after completing the research and discovery phases to create a reason why the brand or the campaign exists, why it's a story that must be told. The brand's narrative is incredibly important for storytelling and world building. All of the language, all of the campaigns, and all content across platforms must reflect the story the brand is telling. When content and communications are executed in the same style that the brand narrative is told, each being an extension or part of the story, then that brand becomes the stuff of legend, an anecdote for success, and a story passed down from founder to founder. Let's look at three of the most ubiquitous brands of our lifetime as examples. Ford. Henry Ford, a farm boy, wants to create an affordable American car to lighten the load on farmers hauling goods to the markets. Nike. Phil Knight runs the mile at the University of Oregon. He's dissatisfied with the clunkiness of the American shoe. Takes a visit to Japan. Japan has low-cost, high-quality, lightweight running shoes. Phil and his running coach Bill Bowerman create Nike, originally titled Blue Ribbon Co., to sell high-quality, lightweight running shoes to American runners. Apple. Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak want to create a personal computer that can be used at home. Knowing these three stories and then a quick review of current brand identities, campaigns, and communications, it's easy to connect the contemporary vision with the narrative that created these companies. Here are two examples from brands I created. Mineral. After a parasite infection caused my lower intestine to inflame and wrap around my colon, I used cannabis oil to reduce the inflammation in my lower intestine, which released its grip on my colon, and I avoided death, or even worse, a colectomy. I thought it'd be neat to offer this organic, natural, plant-based healing substance to others, and thus created Mineral in topical and sublingual formulations. Micro. I was suffering from crippling anxiety and using psilocybin in micro dosages to reduce the symptoms that caused my anxiety. Psilocybin on its own isn't very tasty, so we worked with a formulator to homogenize raw psilocybin with raw honey, added cacao for flavor, and then mixed in 14 other adaptogenic herbs to create a daily supplement. A spoonful of honey to replace a handful of pills. We created a drug company, but after no clear path to psilocybin legalization and the ability to help others, we removed the psilocybin and turned Micro into a consumer product. There's a mix of short, mid-length, and long-form narratives in the examples I've just shared. And that's because I believe an explanation at each length is necessary for the brand, each one becoming more compelling and revealing with an increase in length. It's similar to film. You have a tagline, a logline, and a synopsis. So for your brand, we need the same. Let's continue to use Dose as our live example and create the brand narrative in real time. Grab some spuds with your buds, eat tallow fried potato chips. The tagline. Now, a tagline is quite common in brand and especially in advertising. We're all very familiar with some of the most memorable. Nike, just do it, which is physical and aspirational, a mindset that is the ethos of the company. Apple, think different, inspirational, a challenge, a universal call to action. Verizon, can you hear me now? A question, a clarification, an attempt to prove that the product is superior. M&M's, melts in your mouth, not your hands. Cheeky, a touch suggestive, and calling out the competition. These aren't beginning, middle, and end narratives, but they serve a purpose. To create intrigue so that we, the consumer, need to know more about what we must just do, or how we can think differently, or what we just heard, or what is melting in our mouths. Let's do an exercise to create a tagline for Dose. What do we want the experience of the product to be? What feelings do we want Dose to be associated with? Well, it's not incredibly complex. Dose is tallow fried potato chips. Healthier snacking in a time where we believe not many are snacking. Fried foods are certainly due for a renaissance, some sort of new association, because frying anything has a negative connotation. The tallow we source comes from healthy, grass-fed, grass-finished cows. Potatoes are planted, then harvested, which is a lovely image of organic farming practices. The salt we use comes from the oceanic lands of West Texas, free of microplastics and contaminants. So what are the themes or visuals of our product? Cows, potatoes, frying or cooking, farm, farming, organic, land, Texas, and eating, enjoying. This is a lot to work with, but we don't want to make it complicated. Although a strong tagline can be used for a company forever, such as UPS is what can Brown do for you, it's not terribly important to get this right at the start. especially for a new brand. Targets will change, campaigns will be ideated and executed. Dose's forever tagline may come to us later in the company's lifespan, and there is no reason to wait on perfect marketing copy before we move forward. Nonetheless, it's this exercise that will lead to something that we can launch with. And from this exercise and time, Dose's tagline is starting to become clear. I mentioned that frying had somewhat of a negative connotation, yet everything else associated with the product has a natural, organic feel. So what if we use a noun as an adjective and create a concept straight off the farm? Farm fried. And that's our tagline. Short narrative. We have a tagline for launch that is descriptive and a differentiator from things like it. That's how we've chosen to represent the narrative of the brand from a short, concise, and intriguing statement. Now we need to create something a bit more informative and still leave room for the imagination. In film, this descriptive statement is known as the logline, a strong, central idea to concisely convey to audience the conflict and key elements of the plot. The story of Dose is being written in real time, so we can't quite communicate the conflict and key elements of the plot, but we can detail the reason as to why the founder, me, created the brand. Now, Dose isn't a life-changing supplement or a super aspirational running shoe. It's a snack, and one that is healthier because it's fried in beef fat than the seed oil alternative. So let's start with the truth. I don't eat potato chips because they're fried in seed oils. I would eat potato chips fried in tallow. You see where this is going. I created Dose from a desire to snack on potato chips fried in beef tallow, which is a callback to great American snacking, as ubiquitous fast food restaurants like McDonald's used to use tallow in their frying practices. This short, one-sentence explanation communicates the problem. No potato chips fried in beef tallow, the desire of the main character, because we're still referencing film here, and the targeted solution, creating a snack item fried from beef tallow that resembles a time where American snacking was better for you than it is today. Boom. That's Dose's short form brand narrative, or its logline. The longer narrative. This is going to most resemble a film synopsis. Here we're going to get into more detail about the characters, the founder, the setting, the impetus for the brand, and the conflict of the plot, or the conflict that led to the creation of the brand, for a brand narrative. We're all living life here, right? There are circumstances beyond our control, and we're often impacted negatively or positively by these circumstances. If we look back at the brand narratives we detailed at the start of the video, we can dissect the circumstances and the impact that led to the founder's desire to create a solution to the problem. Henry Ford saw a problem: inefficiency in the way farmers brought goods to market. So he created a car for loading and transporting farmed goods. Very noble of him. To actually bring his motor vehicle to market, past the idea phase, contains a much larger, complex, and heroic story. Something told around the office water cooler at Ford and companies inspired by Ford's story. The long narrative. Dose isn't that revolutionary, but the principles are the same. Seed oils are destroying the American diet, but the vast majority of packaged potato chips are fried in seed oils. This is the problem. The personal connection is that I want to eat potato chips, and thus it becomes my problem and my desire to create a business that solves my problem, not only for myself but for others, creating the journey of this business to market, sourcing quality tallow, sourcing organic potatoes, and sourcing the world's best salt. Let's package it all together. Because Dose is a friendly, playful brand, I added some of that color into the language, something we'll cover in a future YouTube video. This is Dose. Tallow, salt, potatoes. A farm-fried potato chip using the world's best salt, the world's best beef fat, and potatoes that are hand-cut, hand-fried, and tasted for, well, for taste. Dose is inspired by a dog, Dose, who passed away too soon, and by the snacks we longed for in elementary school, the ones we ran home to share with our friends, the ones that brought us joy. Dose is seed oil free.
Seed oil, the most addictive form.
Yeah, none of those. And created with Texas's greatest chicken farmer.
Answer me.
That guy. It took us more than a calendar year to get here, and we failed over and over again.
I need chips in bags.
That's why there aren't many like us.
Beef fat chips, huh?
But everyone loves chips, so we're eager to share them with you, and to replace the snacks that, well,
It can kill you.
exactly. Dose. Grab some spuds with your buds, eat tallow fried potato chips. Informative, personal, yet a story that connects with an audience that has the same interests and sensibilities. And most importantly, a desire to eat healthy foods from farms. In summary, so we've written a tagline, a short narrative or logline, and a longer narrative for Dose, all of which are compelling and serve a necessary purpose. The most immediate use of these three written assets that isn't conceptual but actionable is in the actual visual identity of the brand. For Dose, the tagline goes on the packaging. The short narrative is communicated on the homepage, and the long-form narrative adorns the About Us page on the website. Even further, because Dose is a pre-launch brand, these narratives are the introduction of our brand to the audience, and not just digitally. It's my responsibility as the founder to communicate concise explanations as to why Dose exists to potential retailers, distributors, or capital partners. And going past me, when the team is starting to materialize, these narratives serve as the official explanations to Dose. That way we have a unified message amongst all members of the company to explain why Dose exists. Therefore, the brand's narrative is a critical component of building the brand identity as it 1. Unifies the team's understanding of the mission. 2. Informs all language and communications from the brand. 3. Allows the visual identity to personify the narrative. 4. Creates a precedent for all creative and campaigns from the brand. And 5. Communicates the problem the brand is solving to the consumer. Please use this video as an exercise for creating your own brand narratives, and we'll continue to dissect how Ceremony created the brand identity and brand narrative for Dose. Grab some spuds with your buds, eat tallow fried potato chips.